What if I told you that some of the things you've been doing for years are actually making your thinning hair look worse? Yes, worse. And most women over 50 are making at least 5 of these mistakes without even realizing it. By the end of this video, you'll not only know what they are, but you'll also know exactly how to fix them fast. Let's kick things off with something almost all of us do without thinking twice, and that is washing our hair. Let's get real. Thinning hair doesn't ask for permission, it just shows up. One day, you're brushing your hair and notice a little more scalp than usual. Or maybe your once full ponytail now feels like a tiny baby sprout. Been there, and it's frustrating. But here's the truth, it's not always age or hormones. Sometimes it's the little habits. The silent saboteurs are the ones that are making thin hair even thinner. And the best part is that you can start fixing these today. At this stage of life, shampooing feels like second nature. You grab your trusty bottle, lather up, rinse, and move on. But here's where things get tricky. The type of shampoo you've been using for years might be quietly working against you, especially now that your hair has changed with age. Hair naturally gets finer and more fragile as we get older. That's completely normal. But it also means we need to treat it more gently than we did in our 30s or 40s. Many women notice their hair doesn't bounce back the way it used to. It feels flatter, loses its shine, and seems like it just can't hold volume no matter what you try. So, what do we often reach for? A volumizing shampoo. It's marketed as the miracle fix for limp or thinning hair, so it feels like the right choice. Unfortunately, most over-the-counter volumizing shampoos are full of harsh sulfates and alcohols that do more harm than good. They give that lifted look right after washing, but they're doing it by stripping your hair of moisture and weakening the hair shaft. Sulfates create that foamy, squeaky clean feeling, but they also irritate the scalp and dry out the hair. Alcohol-based ingredients can make things worse, leaving your hair brittle and prone to breakage. And if you're already dealing with thinning, this becomes a double blow. The worst part is that this damage is gradual. You don't notice it right away. But over time, the hair becomes thinner, the scalp gets more sensitive, and you're left wondering why your hair just doesn't feel like it used to. It's easy to blame age, hormones, or stress, and while those do play a role, sometimes the issue is sitting right there in your shower caddy. There's a better way to approach this. Switching to a gentle, sulfate-free shampoo can make a world of difference. Look for shampoos with ingredients that support scalp health and hair strength, like biotin, niacinamide, caffeine, and even natural oils. These components don't just clean your hair, they nourish it. They give your scalp what it needs to create a better environment for stronger, fuller hair. Over time, this can help reduce shedding and improve the overall texture of your hair, which is what most of us are really after. Also, pay attention to how often you wash. Washing too frequently can dry out the scalp and hair even further, especially if you live in a dry climate or use heated styling tools regularly. Every other day or even every third day might be plenty, depending on your hair type and scalp condition, and always rinse thoroughly. Any leftover product can build up and clog follicles, which might slow hair growth over time. One of the biggest shifts that comes with getting older is learning to unlearn. The shampoo that worked wonders in your 20s is probably not doing you any favors now. That doesn't mean your hair is failing you, it means it needs different care. With the right products and a more tailored routine, you can bring back some of that softness and body without sacrificing scalp health. Now that we've taken a closer look at what's happening in the shower, let's move on to something just as important. This is usually what everyone is doing with their hair right after rinsing it. For a lot of us, applying conditioner is the cozy part of hair care. It feels like self-care. After shampooing, you reach for that creamy product, smooth it into your hair from root to tip, and maybe even let it sit a little longer while you enjoy a warm shower. It's familiar. It feels right. But this is where many women unintentionally make one of the most common hair care mistakes, especially when dealing with fine or thinning hair. The truth is, slathering conditioners all over your head is doing the opposite of what you want it to. Conditioner is designed to coat and hydrate the strands of hair. When applied to the scalp or near the roots, it tends to clog the follicles, make your roots feel heavy, and rob your hair of any natural volume it could have. For hair that's already thinning or fine in texture, this weighs it down even more. The result is hair that lies flat, loses its shape faster, and looks greasier sooner than it should. Women over 50 often notice that their hair doesn't behave the same way it used to. The texture changes, hormones shift. What was once thick and easy to manage now feels finer, and styles don't hold their shape like they used to. That's why it's important to adjust how and where we apply conditioner. Less is more, and placement matters. The best way to condition thinning or fine hair is to keep the product concentrated on the mid-lengths and ends only. This is the part of your hair that needs the moisture the most. The ends are older, more exposed to heat, and more prone to breakage. By applying conditioner only to this section, you give your hair the hydration it needs without compromising the fullness and body at the crown. Choosing the right formula matters just as much as how you apply it. Go for lightweight, hydrating conditioners that are labeled as volumizing or for fine hair, but always read the ingredient list. Look for nourishing but light ingredients like aloe vera, glycerin, or panthenol. Avoid anything with heavy silicones or oils high on the list, which can build up quickly and flatten hair even after just one use. If tangling is a concern, and let's face it, as our hair gets finer, it tends to knot more easily, use a wide tooth comb in the shower to distribute the conditioner evenly while it's still in. This not only detangles gently, but also prevents you from over-applying in areas that don't need it. Detangling while your hair is coated with conditioner is safer for the strands too, since wet hair is more fragile and prone to breakage. Also, don't skip rinsing thoroughly. Leftover conditioner residue can act like a weight on the hair, dulling its shine and flattening its natural movement. Rinse with cool water if possible, as this can help seal the hair cuticle and boost shine, leaving the hair looking fresher and more vibrant. This one small adjustment to how you apply conditioner can make a noticeable difference. It's not about doing more, it's about doing it smarter. As your hair evolves with age, your routine has to evolve too. And when you make space for your hair to lift and move the way it wants to, you'll be surprised how much healthier and more voluminous it can look. Now that we've covered what goes into your hair care routine in the shower, let's shift to something just as important. What happens when you start styling? Because that's where even more volume can be lost before you ever leave the house. When it comes to thinning hair, heat styling can be both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, a quick blowout or a little wave from a curling iron can make your hair look more styled, fuller and polished. But here's the reality many of us didn't learn until later. Even moderate heat, over time, can quietly chip away at your hair's strength, leaving it weaker, drier, and more prone to fallout. As we age, our hair becomes more delicate. It loses some of the protein structure that used to keep it resilient. That means the hair shaft can't handle high temperatures like it used to, especially without any kind of barrier or protection. Even if you're not cranking your blow dryer to full heat, the repeated exposure, day after day, starts to break down the keratin in your strands. The result is thinning, brittleness, and frizz that just won't go away no matter how much you moisturize. One of the most important changes you can make right now is to always, and I mean always, use a heat protectant spray before you touch any tool to your hair. Think of it like sunscreen, but for your strands. It's not just about avoiding damage. A good protectant also seals in moisture and gives your hair a light, flexible coating that helps it hold volume longer. Some sprays even include ingredients like argan oil or keratin to reinforce the hair as you style. And don't worry about it feeling heavy. The newer formulas are light and invisible. No sticky residue, no dulling effect. Another great habit to try is letting your hair air dry at least halfway before using your blow dryer. Not only does this cut down on heat exposure, but it actually helps set your natural shape a bit before the styling begins. Then, when you do go in with the dryer, use the cool or low setting and work in sections, lifting from the roots. This helps create volume without blasting your hair with unnecessary heat. For many women over 50, this small tweak makes the hair look fuller and more touchable, not stiff or overworked. And then there's the style itself. This one's tough because it's personal. Many of us fall into the habit of doing our hair the same way we've always done it. It's familiar, it feels like us. But here's the thing, the haircut or styling routine that made you feel beautiful in your 30s may not be doing your hair any favors now. Hair texture changes with age. It gets finer, sometimes more wiry or uneven in growth. Styles that once added bounce can now look flat or emphasize thinning areas, especially around the temples or crown. Sticking to the same style for decades can unintentionally make your hair look more tired, even when it's clean and styled. It's not about chasing trends, it's about updating your look to fit where your hair is now, not where it was then. That kind of adjustment can feel empowering rather than discouraging. One easy update: layers. A well-cut, layered style adds movement and texture, especially when your hair is fine. It creates the illusion of volume without needing constant backcombing or product. Shorter layers around the crown can lift the root area, and feathered ends help keep the hair from looking flat. If you're seeing more thinning around the hairline or part, soft bangs or a side-swept fringe can help frame your face and discreetly cover those delicate spots. Don't underestimate how a fresh cut can make you feel. A good stylist who understands mature hair can work with your texture, density, and lifestyle to craft a shape that brings out the best in your hair, even if it's thinner than it used to be. Sometimes less hair actually means more freedom in styling once you learn how to shape it right. Once your styling tools and haircut are on your side, you'll start to see your hair not as something that's changing on you, but as something you're learning to work with differently. That shift makes all the difference, and now that we've talked about styling, there's another sneaky area that deserves attention: hair color. Because when it comes to thinning hair, the wrong shade or technique can make things look even thinner without you realizing it. Coloring your hair can be such a confidence boost. For many women, it is a way to feel refreshed, polished, and put together. But the wrong color choices can actually work against your goals, especially when your hair has started to thin or lose some of its natural body. One of the most common mistakes women over 50 make is sticking to a single, solid color that's either too dark or too light for their current skin tone and hair texture. Jet black and icy platinum may look striking in a magazine, but on thinning hair, they tend to magnify everything you don't want to draw attention to. Super dark shades can make the scalp look more exposed, especially around the part line or crown. Light bouncing off the scalp becomes more noticeable, and the contrast between the hair and skin makes thinning areas more obvious. These colors also create harsh lines against aging skin, which can unintentionally highlight wrinkles, sagging, or uneven tone. On the flip side, going too light all over can also backfire. Over-bleaching to get that all-over blonde look can strip the hair of its protein structure, making it brittle and dry. The hair becomes harder to style, prone to breakage, and loses its natural shine. And when you combine light, fragile strands with thinning density, it creates the illusion of even less hair overall. Plus, excessive bleaching can irritate a sensitive scalp, especially if you're coloring regularly or layering it with other treatments. What works much better at this stage is a multi-dimensional approach. Think depth, warmth, and movement, not just color, but the illusion of volume. Adding highlights and lowlights strategically can give your hair a sense of body and bounce, even if the texture has changed. These techniques work by creating visual texture. When the light hits your hair, those subtle variations in tone reflect differently, giving the impression of thicker, fuller strands. Ask your stylist for techniques like balayage, baby lights, or soft face framing highlights. These methods don't just look more modern, but they are also gentler on the hair and grow out more naturally. Balayage, for example, is hand-painted and less uniform, so it doesn't create a sharp root line. That means fewer salon visits, less damage over time, and a more youthful effect that flatters mature features. Choosing the right tone is also key. Cooler tones like ash or silver can look elegant, but if they're too muted, they might wash out the complexion. Warmer tones like honey, caramel, or chestnut tend to bring warmth to the face and make the hair appear healthier. It's not about copying a trend. It's about enhancing what you already have with subtle, thoughtful changes that suit your skin, your hair, and your lifestyle now, not what worked 20 years ago. Another thing to keep in mind is what happens during the coloring process. Bleach and permanent dyes are tough on all hair, but especially on hair that's already thinning or fragile. One smart move is to ask your stylist for a bond-building treatment to be added during your color appointment. These treatments help reinforce the internal structure of the hair strand as the color processes. It's a small step that can make a big difference in preserving strength, softness, and shine. All things that make thinning hair look healthier and more vibrant. Remember, your hair doesn't have to be one solid wall of color to look polished. In fact, the opposite is often true. A mix of shades can create softness around your face, disguise thinner areas, and help your whole look feel fresher. That's not just about hair health, that's about confidence. Now that we've touched on what's going on above the surface, let's take a look at something a lot of people overlook. What's happening while you're asleep? It might surprise you how much your nighttime habits are affecting your hair's health without you realizing it. Sometimes it's not what we're doing during the day that causes damage, it's what's happening quietly while we sleep. Most women don't even realize that their nighttime habits can play a huge role in how their hair behaves, feels, and grows. After 50, when hair is naturally more delicate and less dense, even small habits can have a big impact over time. Let's start with something as simple as your pillowcase. Cotton is everywhere. It's soft, familiar, and it feels comfortable. But what a lot of women don't realize is that cotton isn't doing their hair any favors overnight. It's an absorbent fabric, which means it pulls moisture not only from your skin, but from your hair too. That includes natural oils your scalp produces to keep hair healthy and lubricated. So you wake up with hair that feels dry, frizzy, and harder to manage. Cotton also creates friction. As you move your head during the night, especially if you toss and turn, your hair is rubbing against that rougher surface. Over time, this leads to tiny breaks in the strands, especially around the hairline and crown where the hair is most exposed. For anyone already dealing with thinning, that kind of ongoing damage adds up fast. The quick fix? Switch to a silk or satin pillowcase. The difference may seem small, but it's real. These materials allow your hair to glide across the surface with almost no friction. That means fewer tangles, less breakage, and a smoother texture by morning. Plus, silk and satin won't strip your hair of moisture. That helps preserve softness and reduces frizz, especially if your hair is already on the dry side due to age or color treatments. It's a small investment with a big return, and once you make the switch, you'll likely wonder why you didn't do it sooner. Now let's talk about another nighttime habit that quietly causes damage: going to bed with wet hair. This one's especially common, and it feels innocent. After all, there's something relaxing about washing your hair at night, skipping the blow dryer, and letting your hair air dry naturally. But when you sleep with wet or damp hair, you're putting it in a vulnerable position, like literally. Hair is most fragile when it's wet. The bonds that hold each strand together are loosened after a wash, which makes the hair more elastic and prone to stretching or snapping. When you lie down with damp hair and press your head into the pillow, that added friction combined with the weakened state of the hair shaft can easily lead to breakage. And if you're someone who moves a lot in your sleep, that friction increases the chances of waking up to more shed hair on your pillow or noticing that your ends are looking increasingly frayed. If nighttime is the only window you have for washing your hair, no problem. The solution isn't to stop washing at night altogether, but to change how you manage your hair afterward. Try to let your hair air dry to at least 80% before you head to bed. That way, it's still soft but not soaking. Using a microfiber towel instead of a regular cotton towel can also make a big difference. Microfiber towels are gentler on the hair shaft, soak up water more efficiently, and reduce the amount of drying time you need overall. Another option is to loosely braid your hair once it's mostly dry. A soft braid helps keep the strands contained and prevents them from rubbing against your pillowcase all night. Just be sure it's not too tight. The goal is to reduce stress on your scalp and minimize tangling, not pull on the roots. A silk or satin scrunchie can also help if you prefer to tie your hair back gently before sleeping. Even a change as simple as adjusting your bedtime routine can help preserve hair over the long term. When you're dealing with thinner hair, it's less about drastic changes and more about consistently doing small, smart things that add up to healthier, stronger strands. Think of it like caring for a favorite cashmere sweater. You do not throw it in a rough wash cycle and hope for the best. You handle it with intention, with gentleness, and it stays beautiful longer. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's one hair mistake you've caught yourself making? Share it in the comments because your experience might just help another woman feel a little more confident in her own hair journey. And if you enjoyed watching this video, you will definitely love this next one.